Guys and dolls, welcome to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint, and today we are going to be talking about the Tianfour T200, and as the title describes, why you shouldn't be buying it. Roll those credits. Okay, so I have had the Tianfour T200 now for probably about a year. I'd have to check when the videos went up before, but I've probably had it about a year. And as you can see, it's an intensely unwell looking printer. So, things I like about the printer, because there are good points. So it has linear rails, that is really solid. The bed leveling is super easy. It has a perforated bed for an MSLA printer or a DLP printer, depending on how you want to word it, which is brilliant for a machine of this size because it doesn't create air bubbles underneath the build plate. Nano DLP, which to be fair has absolutely nothing to do with Tianfour, works brilliantly, slices really well, profiles are really easy to use. Things I don't like. So, issue number one, how the bed fits in. They have decided to go with front and middle anchor points. This creates a couple of problems. The first is that they've made this pretty much as big as the enclosure in here, so these thumb screws are quite hard to tighten down. They've gone with a screen that seems to reset to Chinese every single time I restart the machine. Very annoying. You have to memorize where in the menu you need to go to change it back to English. The screen is actually, the touch screen that you use is actually quite small. They haven't included a USB on this. It is just Ethernet or Wi-Fi, so you can only use Nano DLP. You can pre-arrange and you can add supports in Chitubox. Then you upload it as an STL file, and then Nano DLP will slice it for you. I don't particularly like that either. Now if we get to the functional issues with the machine. So the first is the low quality power supply and the adapter on the back. This made the machine cut out at random points. There was never a reason why it cut out, as far as I could tell. It wasn't doing a particularly large layer. It would just be at a random point. It would short, reset the machine. There is no resume after power loss, like with a lot of Marlin printers. So you just lose your print. So that's really annoying. The only way I found to fix this is I had to replace the on-off switch at the back. Relatively easy, but annoying. But probably more importantly, the power supply that comes with it is supposed to be removable. Mine no longer is. My power supply is now hardwired into the back of the machine because the plug is such low quality that again it creates shorts and the machine resets at random points. I was actually sent a brand new power supply by Tianfour. It's the only replacement part they have ever sent me, despite my requests for other things. And that one did exactly the same thing as well. So I had to go through my own process to eliminate that fault. The biggest issue is well, I say the biggest issue. One of the biggest issues is the bed, is the VAT design. Now, when you look at the VAT design on on something like an Anycubic, they have decided to not mill out the inside of this as thoroughly or as deeply as Anycubic has, which means when you fit this this sort of skirt to here, whilst it does pull the effect tight, it is not it's not watertight. It leaks constantly. I have gone for a much thicker FEP. I went for a 250 I think it's Humes, or micron. Sorry, 250 micron FEP in this. It's incredibly difficult to screw it on, but it finally did. And even then, I had to put electrical tape around the outside to stop this vat from leaking. I bought a second vat. That didn't solve the problem. So it's not isolated to an individual vat. I have bought a spare. Once again, Tianfour would not provide me with a spare for that, despite me I've maybe had 3 successful prints out of this in a year. Maybe 3. And they weren't even particularly good quality at that either. Missed layers, relatively low resolution layers as well. So then my screen got damaged because the vat leaked. So I changed the screen at a cost of £200, which, to be clear, this was a £750 machine when I bought it. So we're now talking a third of the cost of the machine I've paid out in a screen. That screen arrived, I fitted it, I got 2 successful prints out of it, and then the screen died. I wrote to the company again, both on the original purchase of the printer and on the second purchase of the screen, and both times I was advised that the screen is a consumable part. Tianfour do not replace it, nor do they offer any warranty on it at all. So, no new screen. So I bought another screen at another £200. So we're now at £400, over 50% of the cost of the machine. Fitted that. That one turned up with damaged connectors. Changed those. Screen failed. Just didn't work. Dead machine. Again, no refund. AliExpress wouldn't refund me either. I said the screen never worked. That didn't matter. No screen. I am done trying to fix their shoddy design. It's a shame because Tianfour, T200, they've got a new one out. I think it's called the T280, maybe, or the T220, something like that. They claim they have improved the design. From just looking at it, they haven't. They haven't fixed the fundamental issues that this machine has. A shoddy power supply, poor quality control, not a good design, and really terrible after service. Tianfour missed a massive opportunity with this printer. When Anycubic came out with their DLP machine, they were not the first on the market. What they were was a low-cost entry point that allowed you to produce high-quality parts on a relatively low-format machine, but at a relatively low cost. Tianfour had the opportunity to genuinely corner the market, to move up to a larger format screen, something similar in build volume to the Wanaho D8, which has its own problems, but still is similar to this in build volume anyway. And they could have cornered the market. They could have really changed the way that some people are printing. They chose instead to put out an inferior product, a product that was not ready for the consumer market yet. If they have brought out another version and that version has addressed some of those issues, great. I won't be buying one. We don't get sponsored on this channel by anybody. We don't receive free printers from anybody. We don't receive anything from any of the manufacturers that we use. The Artilleries, the Airy Ones, the Monoprices, the Anycubics, the Creality stuff that Mike has. We don't get endorsements or funded in any way, nor do we incentivize our videos. I paid my own money for this, and it is terrible. I can see from our previous videos that we really are still one of the first channels and one of the only channels that has actually reviewed the T200 after the fact. And that's a real shame, because more people need to know that just because a printer is a good price doesn't mean you're going to get a good machine. It really doesn't. People like Anycubic, people like, like, not necessarily Monoprice to an extent, but Creality and things like that, they make a low-cost machine, and you should expect a low-cost product. This, comparatively to its rivals, other than the D8, is cheap. This is about £200 cheaper than a D8. A D8, if I remember rightly, is about £950 on AliExpress at the moment. This is £200 cheaper, give or take. And they could have made it so good. The linear rails, the perforated build plate, the solid design. All aluminium. A good Raspberry Pi at the heart of it, and a nano DLP to boot. Open source for the most part. You know, a good quality machine could have absolutely dominated the market. But that is not what this is. This is a poorly designed beta product that should not have been released to people. And when it was, and they had problems, they should have been offering some level of support. Now, I've gone back to Tianfour on multiple occasions. I have gone back to them via AliExpress. They've even commented on one of our YouTube videos saying that they've got a new printer. I cannot stress enough how much you should not buy that machine. Tianfour could send me a whole new machine tomorrow, and I honestly would not change my review. This machine is not finished. It is not good. It does not do what it says on the tin. It doesn't deliver. There are fundamental design flaws that should be addressed and should be fixed, and in the new model, they haven't. Whatever they are saying is better with their new machine can only be minor refinements. It is not a complete redesign of some of the key elements that are failing. That screen is terrible. It fails. I have had 2 broken ones, and the one that was on mine also broke. I have never had a good printout of this in in a year. And it's a real shame. But that's the reasons why you shouldn't buy this printer. If you want to take a risk and you want to try their new version, I'm sure it's the T280, maybe they have gotten better, but they won't be getting my money for me to go and make a change to my review or to my recommendations for this company. They really need to turn themselves around, and they need to get better at supporting the community. Anycubic is not perfect. No one's going to claim that they are. Okay? They make a, relatively speaking, budget product. And whenever you make a budget product, there is a reality that you cannot give everybody anything for free. Because you have tight margins, and otherwise you wouldn't make any money at all. But the Anycubic community is significant. There is a degree of support. There are ways and means for you to get the things that you need to get your machine up and running. This, unfortunately, at this point, is just a piece of trash. So keep an eye on the channel, because me and my friend Arif have some plans as to what we're going to try to do. We will butcher some of the parts from this machine. We may very well end up using some of the lighting array or some of the main boards or the screen or something like that. But we are essentially going to dismantle this, butcher it for parts, and we're going to make something maybe a little bit bigger. But ultimately we're going to make something that actually repeatedly works, which unfortunately is just not what this is. So keep an eye on the channel for what's coming up. We have some painting sessions coming up in the new year. I have a relatively large dragon that I'll be painting, maybe on a live stream. I also have a Witcher model from Sanix that's just coming out stunning at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to painting that one as well. And if you have time, go over and check out our Instagram account, where we're generating a lot more content at the moment. And we are trying to post up some of our in-progress stuff. so you can really start to see what we're working on in the shop. Okay, thanks for joining, guys. I'll speak to you soon.